So, Cheryl Burrell has been employed by the state of Rhode Island for over 40 years. She has served in the Department of Administration since 1999, where she previously worked in the Division of Human Resources as a Human Resources Analyst and Programming Services Officer. In 2005, she was promoted to the role of Administrator of the Division's Human Resources Outreach and Diversity Office. Prior to her work at the Department of Administration, she was employed by the Rhode Island Department of the Attorney General, where she served under the administration of 5 Attorney Generals. During the last 6 years of her 19 years plus with the AG's office, she has served as the Director of Personnel. In 2014, she was appointed to serve in her current position as the Department of Administration's first ever Associate Director of the newly created Division of Diversity, Equity, and Opportunity, which she is comprised of 4 offices: the State Equal Opportunity Office, the Human Resources Outreach and Diversity Office, the Minority Business Enterprise Compliance Office, and the Supplier Diversity Office. Under her leadership, the division has more than tripled the utilization of certified minority and women-owned enterprises in the state's procurement of goods and services, and has increased the monthly average of hiring of workers of color in the executive branch by almost 10%. With a passion for diversity and inclusion, Cheryl's advocacy is a accumulation of, I'm sorry, I cannot see. I feel like I should have glasses, they are broken. Is accumulation of the involvement over the years with several community organizations, personal associations, boards, and committees. She holds a bachelor's degree in management from Bryant College and a certificate in diversity management from Cornell University's Institute of Labor and Relations, and a certificate from Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government Senior Executives in the State and Local Government Summer Leadership Program. She is married and is a lifelong resident of Rhode Island. Please welcome her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to thank Hope and Change for Rhode Island. I mean, you're just doing a terrific job, and I know you've got a lot on your plate, and we're going to pray for your son and your family. So I also want to thank my colleagues. After 40 years of service with the state, please excuse me, I didn't prepare any notes. I thought if I could speak from my heart and share with you what some of my experience has been after such a long time in government. It's wonderful to see David Leach, one of my colleagues from years ago. We spent our time together at the AG's office, and those were some really good years. I've spent a lot of time contemplating what is it, why is it that we as women and as people of color haven't achieved more? When you think about it, women's suffrage, 100 years, we're celebrating that. But we could go back 400 years to talk about the exclusion of people, right? We know that this nation has a long history when we talk about discrimination. We need only look to the black codes, the slave codes. Those were laws that allowed for the exclusion of people. So we've got a lot to overcome. Is it any wonder that it took, the movement of civil rights to actually get us to a place where we could acknowledge that our history is wrong. It's wrong to exclude a people. And I realized that there's a very profound reason as to why that's so wrong. And I'm going to share that with you in a moment, because I think it's the answer. I really do. I've thought long and hard, what's the answer here? But I'm going to give you the answer, and I think you might agree with me. But I want to talk a little bit about, as I said, my own experience. And I, in my years of service with the state, have experienced discrimination. I, too, have been subject to the acts of exclusion. Attending a meeting where it was clear to me that they already held the meeting. I was just invited as an afterthought. And decisions had already been made, which I was not a part of. Those are the kinds of subtleties that happen in a workplace setting. We ask ourselves, why is it that when we look at the echelon, particularly the upper echelon in government and in other entities, we're not alone here. Why is it that there's an underrepresentation of certain groups? And we could talk about women, we could talk about persons with disabilities, because see, I advocate for all people that are not part of the system in the process. But the fact of the matter is, we have the answer. We know why we're not adequately represented. We're not adequately represented for the same reasons that happen in our daily lives. The desire to be in an environment that looks most like ourselves. And if you're in a position of power, you're more comfortable with people who are most like yourselves, right? I mean, we know that there are factors that are at play. There's jealousy, there's envy, there's greed, there's the need to continue and to perpetuate control, access to opportunity, especially in the employment setting. Because nothing, and I've heard this said and I agree, nothing beats poverty better than a good job. And that's why employment is one of the last strongholds for equal access and opportunity. But there's a reason why all this is allowed to continue. Some of it's based in power, some of it in control, some of it in economics, right? Those are all factors that contribute to where we are. But we have to get beyond ourselves. We really, really do, because it's no longer a question of our diversity. Our diversity it exists. And I've said this before, that there is talent in every community. There is no reason why any organization, any structure should not reflect the diversity that exists within our population. And that's the goal we set, not even labor force, because that's an unfair measure. But we've got to look at the population representation, and we've done that. We've come up with the answers. We know what needs to be done. Expanded outreach, having selection panels that are comprised of diversity. We know that when we advertise, utilizing the proper medium, that we can attract talent, right? We also know that there's a lot of bias at play when it comes to the process. So we've got to incorporate implicit bias and make sure that people understand the impact that it has on the decisions that we make. We have the answers, we know the answers. But we have actually implemented some of those answers. We've had the luxury at this time to be able to apply some of those practices, and the outcome has been outstanding. Imagine, in 4 short years, we more than tripled MBE utilization within the state procurement system. That's unheard of. Nobody else in the region is doing it, and it's just incredible that we've been able to make so much, so many gains in such a short period of time. But I believed them when they told me that I was empowered to change things. And I did all those things. We as a team, I am so fortunate to have a member of my team here tonight, Jean. We worked collaboratively and we made a difference. The outcome was incredible. But we gotta do more. We have to do a lot more. And so I'm gonna leave you with some ideas that I think may resonate. Certainly the thing that has driven me and it keeps me at the table and keeps me engaged. But the first thing I would encourage all of us to do is that we have to be loyal to the mission and the purpose of diversity and inclusion. We've got to really hold on to that and be loyal to that thought. We also have to be observant. We have to observe what's happening in our climate around us. When we see things and acts that are inappropriate, we got to call it out. We cannot operate in fear any longer. We must speak to what's happening. That's not correct. That's not right. So we've got to be observant. We also have to have a vision. We have to know that it is possible to achieve the goals of diversity and inclusion. We can do it if we keep that vision before us. Last but not least, we have to endure. Now, I've put in 40 years, and I'm not going to tell you about all that I've been through, but I want you to know this. I've been up against a lot of challenges. I've been faced with so many obstacles. To sit here and to try to tell you what I've had to fight, you wouldn't believe it. It would be hard to describe to you, because you'd say, no, that can't possibly be. I'd like to give you a couple of examples. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with a very high-ranking individual in leadership. This goes back a couple of administrations, so I'm not ratting anybody out in the current administration. But I had a conversation, and I was just on the brink of getting into the area of diversity. And the person in leadership said to me, you know, Cheryl, if you really want to make a difference in terms of diversity, what you need to do is you need to tell your black men it's okay to learn. Yeah. And so my response was, wow, really? Now, I'm a woman, I have 6 brothers. For someone to say that to me was very offensive. But I thought, let me not lose it. Let me at least try to engage. What I said to him is this: I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I'll worry about my black brothers as long as when I bring them to this door, you give them access. And that's what happened. But those are the kinds of experiences that when you get real close to power, you start to really find out what's at the core, what's in the heart of people. But I will tell you this, I have endured this race, and I am not done yet. I still have lots of work to do. But I gave you 4 things to focus on. What I said to you, if we could be loyal to the purpose of diversity and inclusion, if we could be observant about what's happening around us and call it out when we see it, if we could maintain a vision before us of what we want to see and what we want to be, and finally, if we have the courage to endure to the end. You see, if we do those things, then we will be operating in love. Love. And that's what it takes to win this race. And the one factor that I learned that I think is the answer to it all is that we're all part of the same human family. And when we really understand that, we will respect, value, appreciate, and engage with others in a very powerful way. Thank you.